Hello, Chris Green here with the Flood Insurance Guru. Today, we're answering some common questions you might have as a real estate agent here on this page. You see, I bought a house in a flood zone more than 12 years ago. I was told the premiums were $3,000 when it should have been $300. My real estate agent almost lost a deal, and that's why we want to make sure in this video we get some of the most common questions asked for you so you can show that you're the right guide for this customer at the end of the day. We understand that your job is not 9 to 5, and neither should be the information you need to do it. So here on this page, I said we're going to answer some of these questions. You're going to be able to get a flood risk verification on your property. It's going to tell you some different data on this property. First of all, let's talk, what is flood insurance? A lot of real estate agents don't run across this very often if they're not on the coast. Flood insurance is a separate insurance policy from home insurance or hazard insurance that's going to cover, like you can see right here where I'm at right now. This is normally a dry area, but if it was inundated with water and it was either 2 acres or 2 structures, like you can see right by here behind me, and one of these structures was yours, this is when flood insurance is going to pay out. Now let's talk briefly about flood zones. Maybe you're looking at an MLS listing and you're trying to figure out, hey, is flood insurance going to be required here? It's simple. What you're looking for here are flood zone. Looking for flood zone A, V as in Victor, or X as in X-ray. Let's start with A and V. These are going to be called special flood hazard areas or 100-year flood areas. These are going to be areas where if someone's carrying a mortgage, flood insurance is going to be required. Now let's talk about X. These are going to be considered low-risk areas. These are going to be areas where mortgage is not going to require flood insurance. You can still get it, and we recommend it because about 30% of claims do come out of these areas. So when you're going through here, and we know now what the flood zones are, and when the bank's going to require flood insurance, what is the bank going to require? Usually the bank is going to require one of 2 things. Either the max coverage available through the federal government, which is $250,000 in residential buildings, or the loan amount, whichever one is less here. Now, maybe you've got someone who's buying a $400,000 house, so that means that only $250,000 is available through the federal government. That's all the bank's going to require. Well, that's why we actually provide you with 2 different flood insurance options here. So you want to make sure you understand this, that you've got options through the National Flood Insurance Program and about 20 different private companies. One may only have that $250,000, but on the private side, you may see one for $400,000 because they're actually covering it for the replacement cost. So you want to pay attention to that when we send over that flood insurance proposal. Now we talked about, what is flood insurance, the flood zones, the bank requirements and all this, but you just need to get a quote for your customer. How long is that going to take? Generally, we have that back to you within 24 business hours. However, it's fully underwritten on the front end. What this means is there aren't any surprises on the back end. We're making sure that this rate is 100% accurate for you when we enter all this information in. Now, you're going to see probably a big difference in pricing on private side compared to the National Flood Insurance Program. Sometimes it's way cheaper. Sometimes people are like, hey, why is it so much cheaper? Well, the reason is that private flood insurance looks at things differently. They look at risk differently, and sometimes it could be 40 or 50% less. Now, what about at closing? Can this be paid at closing? With the federal government, yes, this can be paid at closing. With many private companies, it can as well, but many do require the customer to pay up front for the first year. Also, in many situations, a bank may require this. Now, is the bank going to accept this private flood insurance policy? Yes. The only companies that we work with on the private side are companies where the banks do accept these policies. We usually have to send something over stating that this private flood insurance clause mirrors the National Flood Insurance Program, and the bank will accept it. So this answers some of these questions for you. So what about transferring a policy? Can you transfer a policy from one homeowner to the next? Yes, you can in most situations, especially if it's a federal government policy. Now, on the private side, you can in many situations as well. And this can be very beneficial because it can really protect you from large rate increases, and it can give you maybe a rate that's no longer available. These are some of the common questions we've got from real estate agents so far. Now let's talk a little bit about elevation certificate. As a real estate agent, you're probably out there trying to figure out, hey, I got to get an elevation certificate. Well, the good news is that in most situations now in 2024, elevation certificates are not required for flood insurance. So it may be an extra cost to your buyer that's not going to help them. So when it comes to elevation certificates, remember, they're no longer required for flood insurance rates. Can they still help a lot? Yes. And the good news is with the federal government, you can actually backdate them. So if your buyer gets one 6 months down the road and it benefits them, they can backdate on their federal government policy. Private doesn't look at it that way, but the federal government does. So don't stress if you don't have an elevation certificate, and don't be out there searching for one or going to get one necessarily, because these can cost anywhere from $800 to $1,000. And we want to make sure you're not wasting that money and your buyers are able to get all this done. So I hope this answers some of your common questions as a real estate agent, and I hope you don't face the challenge like I did where we almost lost our dream house because you didn't have the information you needed as a real estate agent. I hope this video gives you that with our flood risk tool, where we show you the flood risk score on our property, what floods on our property is in, estimated premium, so that you can have the information you need. We look forward to working you as a real estate agent, and we look forward to making sure that you're the go-to real estate agent in your area. My name is Chris Green. Thank you.